What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my series where we're making a game similar to the game The Binding of Isaac. In this video, we're going to be making these devil items. So these are the ones that I've already made. I generated a bunch of items using AI, and I think these turned out pretty good. So I've made these top 5 ones off camera today or right now. I'm just going to be making some of these ones at the bottom. I'm not sure how many of them I'm going to make. I'll try to make all of them, but it depends how long the video ends up being. These top ones probably I took like 5 hours on or something like that. So this isn't really a Blender series. I'm gonna try to show you how I make these the best that I can, but sometimes it messes up and I just have to start over and stuff like that. So anyway, the entire project is available for download in the description of the video, and I might start posting the actual executable file. So if people want to play the game without actually downloading the entire project, that's going to be an option. Maybe today, I don't know, we'll see. Yeah, if you guys are enjoying my series, make sure you like my video and subscribe to my channel. I fixed a bunch of other things as well. The bosses are now dropping items like normal. Initially, these items were going to be devil items that inherited from item. So like we have a scriptable object called item. So like if you go to the create menu, there's like an item option. And then I created another item called devil item, like another class called devil item that was inheriting from item. But I guess polymorphism doesn't actually work for scriptable objects. And I didn't know that. So I added in all these items. And then after I did that, I realized I couldn't pick them up. And then I went to click on them and I realized there was like a huge error over here in the inspector or whatever. So I guess you can't use polymorphism for scriptable objects. But anyway, so we're going to get started and yeah. All right, so the first object we're going to make is going to be this unholy catalyst. So there's 4 little pillar things on the side of this. We're just going to use a single vertex to try to do this. So we'll just, okay, so here we are in Blender. You can delete everything, press Shift A, add a single vertex. If you don't have a single vertex option, you can add this under the extra objects modifier. So if you go to preferences, you can get extension, and it's this extra mesh objects that has a single vertex in it. When you add a single vertex, it automatically puts you in edit mode. So just make sure you have to be in edit mode to do this. And we're just going to do one of these first, and then we'll come back and we'll just symmetrize to. So anyway, so let's just move this up to like here. And so we've got these 4 little pointy things. So you can press E to extrude this and make sure you are locked on the side view or the front view, whatever, so that it's not being pulled towards you, the camera, or away from the camera. It's completely flat. It's about this angle, maybe here, just like that. And then I think we could put the screw modifier maybe on this and then turn down the angle to like 30 degrees. We really need to just put this in. Hang on, let me just drag this picture. Oh, that's not it. Into the scene. And we'll just put this guy right over here. Cool. Okay, let's just get rid of the screw modifier. This is not really what we want. So just get a top-down view by pressing 7 on your keyboard. This only works on the number pad, by the way. And then you could press, so go to edit mode and then press A to select everything. Shift right-click on this bottom vertex and actually do it from a top-down view so you have like exactly here. And then you can press E, R, no, still no, hang on. Change the rotation to be the 3D cursor and not the bounding box, and then you can go E R E R E R E R E R. So they come up to a point like that. Yeah, that's probably gonna work, maybe. Okay, so let's just E R E R E R E R E R, and then press Alt Z to get a see-through view, and just like kind of do this, and then again E R E R E R E R. Yeah, so I mean, so this is gonna have to join at the bottom in a circle somehow. So we need to add a circle so that it can join in a circle. So let's press 7 on the keyboard and get a top-down view, and we'll put this like this right here. And then so we want to kind of join this together so that it attaches to this. So what you can do is if you select all these vertices and select this vertex, and then you could press M to merge the points at the center, and then you could press GZ to move it down so it's back into the circle. And then there's kind of like, I don't know if you guys can see it, but there's like a profound curve here right in the middle that's like a little bit sharper. Hold Control and click to get all the vertices in the middle, or you can hold Alt and just click on one of these lines, press 1 on your keyboard to get like this side view, and just press G and X and just move it slightly like this so that it's more, this one needs to be scaled but not towards that. We need to scale it towards the bounding box center, like that. And then, yeah, so then I think we need to fill in this. So if we select the lines here, we can select these two and click F and like this. Okay, and this one's kind of black. I wonder if what's going on here. So let's select these vertices. We're just going to merge these. It looks like this completely messed up at the top here, and we just actually want these all to be 1 point. So that it's like kind of pointy. And then we want to put this wall back or whatever. So select these two and press F to fill it. And then we just want to make sure that the normals didn't get messed up in this. So if you click this little drop down up here, there's a face orientation, and you can see that all of the normals are wrong. So if you just press A to select everything, we can go mesh normals and then flip. It should go blue. So that way you know that the mesh is on the outside and not the inside because it was done completely backwards. And let's go back here, get rid of that. And okay, so then what we want to do is we want to click on, select all of these, and then Control Shift S, maybe? No, Alt Shift S. No, Control Alt Shift S. What's the freaking shortcut? I can't remember. Set origin to geometry. No, it's not gonna work. Okay, just press 7 on your keyboard and then right click in the middle of the circle. And we're just gonna set the 3D cursor there. And then we're gonna go back into edit mode and select this whole object, but we wanna get rid of the circle selection. So let's, oh, you can't do that. Okay, so let's just hold Control and select away the rest of the circle. Okay, so we don't want to duplicate the circle at all. We're only duplicating this object that we've made. And so then we can go into the origin thing and we'll just do 3D cursor again. So if you do Shift D, we can duplicate this and press R to rotate it. And so this will rotate it along the center of the thing. And you can see that we've clicked not directly in the center of the circle. So Shift D, R again. It doesn't matter. We're going to have to fix it anyway. And it doesn't need to be perfect. So yeah, and then so we can just move these so that they kind of align. If you press L, you can select the entire object and then you can rotate it. I would just rotate it actually on the individual origins probably so that it like rotates better. But see, we'll move this here, rotate it, make sure it's perfect. Okay, so now we've got something coming along here. So these are not joined anymore. So the ones that we just added to this are not joined to the circle at the bottom, and we want to join them so that they're connected at the circle. So what we can do is go into vertice select and do the same thing that we did with the first one. I think that's the first one, so it's this one that we need to do. And if you press L, just from this perspective, you can press G and Y and just move it so that they're basically just touching each other. And we don't want the merge to move this very far, so just try to get it touching as best you can. And then yeah, and then G and X to move this one, G and Z to move it up as well. And we really want this to be a lot closer to this, so get a good view. And then G and Y, G and Z, and then we will merge the, and then the same, this is the last one. So if we press L, you can select everything. And it looks like I have the knife tool somehow. And then G and X to move this over. And then G and Y, G and X. Select them, both the vertices, and just merge them. And there we go. Okay, so now we have the basics of, I guess, the object. And so this is more rounded, like this comes out like a ledge kind of deal, and then this part's like more rounded. So we want to do that. So we kind of want to do this to all of them. So can we scale like this? G and Z maybe. Alt S? No, it's not gonna work. We should have done this before we made this into four. We should have finalized one of them and then did this. So if you press Control B, you can bevel this, but this isn't automatically going to round it unless this is moved out. So what you have to do is select the edges like this. So if you hold Control, it will find the fastest route to get to where you're looking. So then we can press G and then X in this case to move this out like this. And we want quite a sharp curve to this, so like a lot. And then when you press Control B, it will fix it. So move these other ones first. So and again, they don't all have to be the same. Like it's a like you don't actually want them to all be the same either. So just G and X for this, and just try to make sure like the gap is like similar. Although this one's like way further, but it doesn't matter. So we'll do that, G and Y. Okay, and then after we've moved them all, you can just, oh crap, hold Alt and click on one of the lines, and then select all of these at the same time. And Shift Alt actually to select more, and then you can press Control B to bevel. And yeah, so then you can get like a kind of like a curve going for this. Wow, that's pretty sweet, huh? So this bottom ring, this can get filled in. So let's just select the ring and by holding Alt and clicking on it, and just click F, E to extrude it upwards. And then if we select this bottom face, we'll click E on it as well to extrude it downwards. But then we need to round it a lot. So this is, hang on, let's undo this. This object right here needs to be, so hold Control and get rid of the rest of the objects or whatever. We should be doing this with face select. So this is not a circle. So we just want to do G and X and try to move it into a circle a little bit more. So, because like when you pull it up, you can see that it's not a perfect circle. It's very clear. So let's press E on this and move this up, and then E on the bottom and move it down, and then Control B to bevel it. And right here at the bottom, you can see where this is not working as well as we'd like. So let's select this vertice and press G and X and just move it away a little bit. And then you could do that for like the rest of them. You could also press GG to drag it along the thing that's already there. And, you know, this doesn't really have to be perfect, but it should be as close to perfect as you can. So let's press Alt and click on this, and we'll press SZ0 to scale this on Z axis to 0. And let's do that for all of these ring loops so that they're completely level all the way across. So that way it doesn't have any type of like angle to it. And then if we can do that for the top one too, oops, so 0. Okay, and then in the picture, what's going on here? It's rounded at the top as well, and then there's like yeah. So we need to bevel this too. So that's looking pretty cool. And then it looks like this middle loop. We really just want to move this up a little bit so it can be more close to perfect. And then if we can take all of these vertices and scale them. No, we want to. Yeah, we do actually want to scale them. And then if we can bevel them, that would be cool. We can't bevel them though, because the point is attached. If the point wasn't attached, we could bevel them. Because like in this one, there's a line in the middle. So this looks like it's rounded. Maybe scaling it's enough. I don't know. And then if it gets shade auto smooth, that will probably get rid of that. Okay, so now we need, oops. Okay, so now we need to join the bottom parts of this together. So I think we're gonna do that. If you press Control R, you can make a loop cut in the middle of this. And then we need to join this to the bottom vertice of the thing. So again, maybe this would have been a better option before duplicated all of them. We could have done this. So make sure you use J to fill this and not F. F will fill it, J will join it so that it actually puts a cut into the mesh that's already there. And then we want to attach this to the bottom part of this one. So we're going to do the same thing that we did with that one to this one. So you select both the vertices, you press J, it joins them. And then if you select these two faces, you can press F to fill them. And so that looks like crap. So instead of doing that, what we're going to do is we're going to do, if you go to edge, you could bridge the edge loops. And then inside of this little window thing that opens, don't just close it right away. We'll just put a bunch of cuts. And of course, it went the wrong direction. Maybe one of these will be better. Of course, it's not going to be better. No, we don't want to twist it. I mean, I guess we could do it like that. Let's see what it looks like from here. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's fine. Let's just do it and see what it looks like. It would have been ideal if it went the other way somehow. I don't know if that's even possible. Just because the angle, it didn't do it, but oh crap. So we select this, we press J, and then we do the same thing where we go to the edge thing, bridge the edge loops, and then we do 4 cuts just like before. And it should keep the profile of the merge factor should stay the same. So it's already set to the exact same thing. And then we just need to do that for the last 2. So let's go here. We'll select this vertice, select this one, press J, and then we'll select these 2 faces, and we can go to bridge edge loops and then do 4 cuts. And then the last one, because we've already cut this, we don't have to do any of the other stuff. Bridge the edge loops and yeah, so this leaves like a nice little area in the middle where we're going to put our emerald or diamond or whatever. When you're making this, again, like it doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to be looking at it from like this far away. So you're not going to be able to see all the detail that we're adding to this perfectly because it's a top-down game. So you have a lot of leniency with this because it doesn't really like, it's not really as visible as also this gem is going to go in this area in the middle. So you're not going to be able to see any of that anyway. And then so to do the bottom part, we just need to expand this. So if we click this bottom face with the face select, you can press E to extrude this. And then as this is going down, it gets larger. And then there's another one of these things that we had up here at the top. So if we take this, we can bevel it. And then if we take this top one as well, just go into line select or edge select, you can bevel this. Okay, so I used Control B to bevel it, and then you can select this top line, and we just want to scale this inwards so that they're distinct, so that they're not together. And then this little area is really messed up. So hopefully when you did yours, you didn't like, my circle wasn't close, like the top part of the torch was not close enough to the bottom thing, and that's why it's like this. So we're just gonna move it and pretend that's not the case. Again, it doesn't really have to be perfect because you're not really gonna see the detail that much, but if it's too imperfect, you will be able to kind of notice, maybe, I don't know. So let's do that. And then also when we shade it smooth, if it doesn't hit the certain angle, then it's not gonna, because we're gonna shade smooth by angle at some point. It won't actually shade it smooth. So now we have the base part kind of done. This again is not really flat. So let's select all of these and press scale Z0 and then scale Z. No, we can't do that because that flattens it. Man, what's going on with this? G. I think there might be like a loop tool for this. Let's just select this one and do a scale Z0 and then, oh man. I'm just pressing SZ0 by the way to scale these all to 0 so they're perfectly level. So yeah, so that's looking pretty good. So the last thing we need to add here is the crystal. So what we can do is if you press 7 on your keyboard, just try to make sure this is as dead center as possible. And you can press Shift A, and we're going to make this a separate object because we're going to want to use the mirror modifier on the crystal. And we're just going to add another single vertice. And so this brings you into edit mode automatically. You can press G and Z to move this up above the thing. Make sure you only move it on the Z axis because it needs to be perfectly in line with the bottom of it or whatever. And so if we press 1 on our keyboard, we want to press G and move it like here or something. And then you can add a modifier, and it's just going to be the mirror modifier. And so by adding the mirror modifier, it's now the same on both sides, and we can press E and try to connect these in the middle. Now, before you do this, you need to click clipping so that they can join together in the center. So when you're pressing G, if you have clipping on, they'll connect in the middle. And so then we want to just kind of make this crystal shape. Now it looks like it just kind of goes. So press 1 so you're getting this front view, and just move it over a little bit. And then we're going to do E and just bring it all the way down. And if you press Alt Z, you can see through the object, and just put it like right into the bottom here. But it looks like this is rounded. It's not perfectly straight going down. So we're going to press Control R to put a cut right in the middle here. And we're going to move this, press G and X to move this out like this. But it's not a flat thing. So we want to round this. Let's put the rest of the mesh there first, and then we'll do that after. So we want this to also be mirrored on the y-axis, and we can press E. Okay, it doesn't like that. Let's just let's get rid of the Y mirror. It doesn't look like it's working. So we'll just make a part like this that goes away like this. And so we just want to move it down so that we can get it to the same. It looks like it's a little bit above this part here. So we'll just move it slightly up. And then can we mirror this on the y-axis? Okay, we can, because that would suck if we couldn't. We have to do it all manually. So this part is higher, like this. And then there's another part that's a little bit lower, like this, and then G, and then why is this locked? Do we need to turn clipping off? Oh, here we go. Okay. Oh, it was just clipping together. Okay, that makes sense. And so that's just like that. And then from here, we can go E. And if you press Alt Z again on your keyboard, you can get a see-through view. Oops. And we'll just move this all the way down here. Now, you don't have to worry about the bottom of it because you can't see it anyway. And don't do what I just did there. So this should be going in towards it. And so then we'll press Alt Z to get rid of that again. And then we want to fill this in. We want these to be connected together like that. And then I think if we do this, we can press F and that fills the top part. And then if we select these vertices, whoops, we want to cut this one right here so that these can be joined together. And then these can be filled in like that. And then these bottom ones can be filled in like that. And then we just want to apply the mirror. So press go into object mode first, and then apply the mirror with Control A. And then we just want to fill the rest of the faces. You wouldn't be able to fill it otherwise because the mirror is doing you can only select 2 of the vertices, so you wouldn't be able to fill it in otherwise. So let's do this, fill that in, and then we'll select these bottom ones and fill them in. And then on this side, we have to do it separately. So like this, fill that in, and then these can fill that in. And then let's just press Alt Z and get a top-down view and make sure we can't see. So like when we're looking at this from a top down, you can't really see the bottom because it goes right into the thing. So it's not visible at all. So that's okay. And so this is looking really, really good. I like this a lot. And so that's like that. In this, it looks like this part goes, this part goes up. So if you press GG, you can slide that up like that. And then on this side, this one doesn't exist, but it has to exist. So we're going to leave it like that. So it looks like in this, it has like a rounded side to it, but it doesn't actually have like a hard line to it. So if you press Control B, you can, we need to bevel this. Control Shift B, maybe. And no, that's not the right way to, okay, let's select both of these and then do a bevel like this, maybe. Uh, because the left side has this hard line, but the right side doesn't. So I don't know. I'm going to bevel it so that this side's like, oh, that's kind of looking good. And this point needs to be moved down. All of them can be moved down actually, but this one too, like that. And I think this is looking pretty good. And then this top part is like rounded as well. So I think we can do Control Shift B to bevel this so that it's like rounded at the top. Let's just Control Z that. Control Shift B again and just scroll up so there's more vertices so that you get more geometry at the top. So it's like that. And I think this is looking really good. So then also here, it's more rounded. It's not meant to be that. So scroll down on this one so you get less vertices instead of more. And so we just want to kind of have like some rounding on these corners so that they're not just like hard as, I don't know. So I'm just pressing Control Shift B and this adds the bevel. And we're going to be doing this for all these little edges or whatever. It makes it look more crystally. So let's do that. And okay, so I think that's looking pretty good for the crystal. So all that's really left to do is to paint this so that it looks good. And then the other thing is when we put it into the game, we're going to kind of lean it backwards. So we're not going to do that in Blender. We'll do that in the actual game. So if you look at some of the other ones that we have, like these hands, for example, I just modeled them straight up and down. And I use the angle in Unity to rotate them. If you rotate them while you're still editing them in Blender, if you try to scale them or whatever, then you have to change it from the global scale to the local scale to like get the rotation to actually work on the axis. So you want to keep it straight up and down for now if you can. But yeah, so now we're just going to paint this. And then this is probably going to be the only one that I actually do today because this video is already too long. And what I found is that my long videos, nobody really stays around for the entire video. So maybe we'll do these other ones. Like these ones are not as really as cool as this one, I think. Actually, that the knife is pretty cool, but maybe we'll do like another video or something like that if you guys want, and we'll just do that after. But now it's just time to paint this. Okay, and we're just actually gonna chip away at the bottom here. So you see that there's like little imperfections in this where like it's been cut away from. So before we do that, we want to shade this auto smooth. So if you right click, you can shade auto smooth. Now, when you do this, you can see that it's formed these hard edges on the side, and those are not there. They are there vertically in this, which we're not going to replicate, but they're not there sideways. So on the right here, under the modifier, this only applies if you're using this version of Blender. In the previous version of Blender, this is in a completely different spot. So this only works in like the newer version of Blender, I guess. There is a spot, but it's just not here. And so we're just going to change the angle to 45 degrees so that that can become smooth as well. But we do want the very hardest edges to not shaded smooth, I guess. And so now we would just want to cut away from the bottom. So we need to make a shape where we're going to cut this out with. So let's click Shift A and add a cube, and then we'll just press G and Y. Make sure you move this in object mode and not in edit mode. You can press Tab to go into edit mode. Just scale this down on the Z axis, and then you can press Alt Z to get the see-through mode and just scale this way down. And then only on the x-axis, you don't actually need to scale it on the z-axis. It looks like that by accident. So then we have like a little cutter kind of shape here, and we could even make it more. Press Control R to add a cut like that, and then we just want to make this more like smoother, I guess, to cut away. So this can go down more, and then this one can be a little bit like this, and that's fine. Okay, so then we'll take this, and if you just press G and just move this inside of this so that it's cutting away some of this. And we want to make this a lot bigger than in the preview because, again, this is a top-down game. So if you only make it the size that it is in the preview, you're not going to see it from above because you have this angle. So you're probably not going to see this anyway, but we're just doing this for the fun of it. So if you shift click this, you can press Control Shift B and you can do a difference Boolean. And then you can see how that cut away a little bit of it, but it looks too flat. So let's take this one and scale it on the x-axis to make it wider. And then we just want to take these ones and move them up as well, like that. And yeah, so then if we click on this, we can apply this by pressing Control A. And we can apply this smooth by angle, and then we can delete this extra object. And so this just cuts away some of the bottom. And we could do another cut maybe on the other side. I'm not going to bother just because you're going to be seeing it from only this side. Because what we're going to do is inside of Unity, we're going to rotate this like this. So you're only going to be able to see that side, but the other side's not going to be visible at all. And it's always on the same angle inside of Unity. So it's not worth, I don't think it's worth cutting away. But I think for the material, because this is a gemstone, we're probably going to use the Fresnel effect. So we're not actually going to paint this. What we'll do is we'll set the material for this and we'll just call this base material. And the other ones will be painted, but the outline already happens based on the script that we have in the other one. So we'll turn up the metallic, turn up the roughness, turn on material preview. And so this will be outlined, and then it will also be, okay. So the crystal we're gonna set as gem material, and we'll just put the roughness down to very low, and we'll make it like red or something like this. And remember that it will have the outline as well. And then we're gonna hide the gem, and we have to paint this. This is not gonna look good without painting. So let's drag from the top right here, and then go into the shader editor. And then you can press N to get rid of like that side menu thing, and then we'll just press Shift A to add an image, and we'll call this Unholy Catalyst. And then just pick like a dark gray color, like the majority of the, pick a color that the majority of this is going to be. And then we're just going to paint some dark spots so it has some like texturing to it. So let's click new image, and then we'll drag the color to the base color. Make the roughness should still be relatively high. It's a kind of rocky subject. So we don't actually want a lot of roughness. And then we need to create a UV map for this. So if you press tab on your keyboard, you can press A and you can press U and click unwrap and smart UV project. After you've done this, go to the UV tab and just make sure that it kind of makes sense. We're just going to be doing very small details, so this probably won't matter. But if you wanted to make this better, you could put loop cut at the very bottom and then one there so that you could paint this bottom object, and then you could create seams on all of these 4 things, and you could unwrap it better than this. I'm not going to bother. This is already a long video, but you could do that if you wanted to. So now to paint it, what we want to do is just choose the paint soft option and then turn down the strength a lot to like 0.2 or something. And then if you click on the black color and just use the eyedropper, you can select the gray from the left side of the screen. And then you want to make a either darker or lighter variant of this. I'm going to go darker. And then you can just kind of use the thing to kind of get where you should draw. So you could put like here and maybe just make the radius a little bit smaller so it's not so visible. And just along the bottom here, we want to make the edges a little bit darker. And the detail on the front is more important again because you can't see the detail on the back because it's going to be tilted towards the camera. So let's just do like this. And then let's drag this over and just move it like this. We don't need to see this at all. We're gonna be using it to save the image, but so the bottom halves of these are a little bit darker than the top halves, it looks like. So let's set that up. Okay, and then the top, like the tippity tops can be just a little bit darker as well. So you kind of get like a gradient going, I guess. And then the inside of this should also be darker. So if we can do the inside like this, and again, this would be better if you cut all of these pieces into their own individual UV islands. And then if, like, let's say you had like over here, there's an island that you want to paint on, like that's, for example, the top of this, you could paint on just that specific thing and it won't bleed onto the other parts of it. I don't think the bleeding matters because of the detail loss when you switch from Blender to Unity. And then the very last thing you need to make sure is that there's no like sharp spots. So we'll get to that in a second. Okay, so this is the view you're gonna get. Let's just make sure that's kind of like a little bit more. And right at the bottom here, you can see that there's like a line that's going across. So let's just paint it a little bit more down here. Okay, so this is looking really good. Again, you're not going to see the details as much in Unity as you can in Blender. So in Blender, you can see how this is not perfect. And there's like a little line here as well. But when you put this into Unity, you're not going to see that. So don't spend too much time on it. So now we want to export this. So what we're going to do is we're going to delete the Boolean cutter that we made. Let's go back to the layout for a sec. Delete these Boolean cutters. And then let's name our objects. So if we select the bottom and just call this base, and then select the top part and we'll call this crystal. Let's delete this one, and then we'll go file, export, FBX. And then inside of my downloads folder, I've created this folder called new items just because I wanted to put them all in the same folder because there's so many of them. And then so we can export this FBX file. And then from there, if we select this, we can go into the texture paint and we'll save the image for this in the same folder. Okay, so now we're done that part. If we go to Unity, and I'm just gonna go to my devil items folder, I'll create a new folder inside of here, and we'll call this, what was it called again? Oh, we'll just rename it after we drag the file in. So inside of our new items folder, we'll take the image and the FBX file and put them both in here. And then we'll rename the folder to Unholy Catalyst. And then from here, we can drag the Unholy Catalyst into the scene. And so if we take it, we go to the scene mode, we'll just move it so that it's like over here or something and drag it upwards. And we're just going to set the scale to 2. So it's relatively big. And I don't know if you can add the outline component while it's in use, and you can, it looks like. We'll set the outline to 3. We'll rotate the x-axis so that it's facing like this, and then get a top-down view from the game. And then this looks like it might be a little bit too large. So if you lock it with this locky button, you can scale all of the things at the same time, like this. And then we want to right click at the bottom, create a new material. We'll call this Unholy Catalyst material. And we can drag this onto the base. And then so from there, we can click on the material. We'll drag the image into this base map part of it. We'll turn up, actually, it's not metallic, but the smoothness needs to be way down. And then if you want to make it a little bit darker, I think that looks a little bit better. All right, and here I am from the future. Basically, I realized that painting the crystal really adds a lot to it. So the same thing we did to generate shading texture. This video is already really long, so I'm not really going to go too into detail. But basically, the same thing we did with the shader, we just create another image. So if you right click, you can, Shift A, create an image. And then this is how I painted it. So everything is just the darker red color to begin with. And then I picked a brush that's like super duper, like light white/pink. and I changed the strength to ultra low. So it's set at 1 right now because I just relaunched this to show you, but set this to like point 0.1 or something. And then I just went over the edges of the crystal a couple of times so that they're white. And I just, the way that I need to do that is I looked at reference images like online. So this really changes how it looks. We're still going to use a Fresnel effect inside of like the crystal shader, but adding the image to this really made a lot. You also have to make sure you unwrap the crystals. So if you go into edit mode like this, you can press a U on your keyboard. You can do smart UV project and just do it that way. And that's how I got this. But yeah, so I did actually paint the crystal. I wasn't initially going to do that, but the Fresnel effect didn't turn out as good as painting it did. So anyway, so back in Unity, you can kind of see that this looks better than the intro video because I painted it or whatever, right? So to make the crystal shader, if you right click at the bottom, you can create a shader graph, a URP lit shader graph. And then this is the shader graph that I came up with. So your crystal material, you'll set it to be this shader graph. Turn off casting and receiving shadows. We have a power here, so I've set it to 2.28, but I've made this like a slider. So this is a variable you can add via the Blackboard. I'm sorry, I'm kind of rushing through this, but the video is already too long, and I got to get to the end of this and wrap it up. So I've set the minimum to 0 and the max to 5. The power just changes like how much the reflection factors in. So basically, we have the image that we drew in Blender that's being multiplied by a color, which is HDR, and it's set to 5 intensity. So it's like really, really bright. And then we have a Fresnel effect with the power going into the power slot. The Fresnel is being multiplied by the output of these. And then the output of that is going into a replace color. So Fresnel, if you don't do this, like if you don't replace the color, the dark parts of it will be black. So I'll show you that. Hang on, let's just drag this to the base color and I'll show you really quickly. So if we go back to the game, you can see that the dark parts of the crystal become black. And it actually looks better if the dark parts are red. Black is like too dark. So we're replacing the color. The range is 0.01, which means only things that are very, very close to black are being affected. The fuzziness changes it so that it doesn't just straight up hard replace it. There's like a gradient that gets applied. So the dark parts have a gradient where the edges of them are lighter and then the middle is the dark part. So changing the fuzziness affects that. You can put some of these things into a slider as well, and then you can adjust them in the game and just see what it looks like. But you can see that this changes the dark part of this to like the dark part was in the middle before. This was black. So when you move around, you can see that this becomes dark, but it's actually red instead of black. So yeah, and I also changed the this catalyst material. I've set it to be metal. So I've turned the metallic up to full. I think this looks really good, to be honest. I think that it turned out really great. I wish I could make more of the items, but this video, again, like I said at the beginning, this is too long. If you guys want to see one of the other devil items get modeled, probably the sword, I would imagine, would be the one that people would ask for. So if you want that, definitely leave a comment down in the description of the video. I'll just show the thing over top of it. But yeah, leave a comment if you want me to model the sword. And probably in the next video, I'm going to show you how to actually use the devil items. So we've created a devil island right now, and we're not actually using the devil items for anything. I did have it where I was adding these devil items to the player's items so that I could test them. But this isn't going to be a permanent solution because we don't want devil items showing up in the item room unless there's a specific item or something that you pick up that makes that effect happen. But right now, all of the items are getting mixed together. So if you go to the devil room, you can pick up any of these items. And the devil items are the same as the regular items, which we covered in a previous video. But in the resources folder, all of these items get added at the beginning of the game. And if you want it to give you like armor or attack size or any of these things, you could just change these multipliers. And then we have a special slot where we can type in certain words. And then in the code, you can go in and like, let's say your attack is maybe spectral and goes through things, or it changes an aura on your attack, or it creates something on your attack, like a visual effect. This is something that could happen. Also, the item caption is what pops up when you actually pick up the item. So the name pops up at the top and the item caption pops up below it. So Yeah, I mean, we covered all of how items are working in a previous video, but we're going to be doing more because the devil items are slightly different. We could also add hearts below them, so you could have like a cost in hearts for each item. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that or not. I'm trying not to copy exactly the game The Binding of Isaac, but the tutorial series is how to make a game like The Binding of Isaac, so it's going to be almost identical, but there's just going to be some slight differences, and obviously it's still a different game. But yeah, so the entire project is available in the description of the video up to this point. These items are just going to be sitting in the main room when you download it, so you can still play the game like normal, but since they're in the open area, like they're going to be in this like main area. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you like the video and subscribe to my channel. And yeah.